Today we're going to be talking about pelvic floor dynamics, understanding what pelvic floor actually does, how to train it more effectively, because there's a lot of people who are still using Kegels and a bunch of other useless exercises that don't really translate into functional movement like squats, like walking, like running. So in this video, we're going to talk about the mechanics, what happens with the pelvic floor during different kinds of movements, and some exercises that we can use, specifically the squat, that we can manipulate the squat to get different pelvic floor influences. Hi, I'm Alex Zephyr, founder of Resilient Training Rehab, and I've helped thousands of coaches and clinicians get better and faster results with their clients. Let's get into it. So when we're thinking about the pelvic floor, before we get into the actual pelvic floor itself, it's important to understand some of the movements of the pelvis. So we've got pelvis external rotation, where the upper part, where the inlet is opening up and the bottom part is closing. And then there is internal rotation, where the inlet, the upper part, is closing, but the bottom part is opening. Now, these two movements happen throughout the day, multiple times a day. They're related to breathing, they're related to walking, they're related to any kind of movement. At different ranges and different movements, we're going to have these two different types of movements happening. It could be asymmetrically or it could be symmetrically, depending on the movement we're doing. But when we have a pelvis that is opening up into more external rotation, we're going to have a pelvic floor that is going to descend. So just think that the pelvic floor is attached to these two sit bones, and it's also attached to the front part of the pelvis and to the top part of the sacrum. So it basically occupies this entire bottom area. When these two bones get closer together, it makes sense that there's going to be more of a hammock or a sagging of the pelvic floor. Now, this is really important for movements that require us to absorb force, to lower our center of mass down, like going down into a squat, right? To catch ourselves, to land as we're landing during walking, as we're squatting down to go to the bathroom, whatever it is. That's a very important movement to allow for hip flexion to happen. The problem is when we get stuck into this position, which we're going to talk about in a second. The second aspect, so we got a pelvic floor that's descending. Okay, this is really associated with breathing. As I breathe in, my diaphragm is going to descend. It's going to push the organs into the pelvis. Now the pelvis has to accept that, and then that pressure is going to cause the pelvic floor to descend. Now the opposite end of the spectrum is when I breathe out, pelvic floor lifts, the diaphragm lifts up and the pelvic floor lifts up. So now, because the pelvis is closing and creating more internal rotation, what then happens is the sit bones are now going to start spreading. So if the sit bones get close together, the pelvic floor sags. But now as I start to create more space between the sit bones, I now create more tension of the pelvic floor. So now the pelvic floor begins to lift up. It begins to ascend. This is very important for movements like hinging, internally rotating, producing force into the ground. So think about heavy lifting, coming up from squatting, taking a step, going up the stairs. That's a very important movement that's associated with this. The problem is, again, is I'm not able to ascend my pelvic floor when I'm putting pressure into the ground. So let's talk a little bit about these kind of compensations now. And one key thing to note is that a lot of people think that pelvic floor issues are just for women. It happens in men too. It's not just women, although we start thinking about pelvic floor as associated to postpartum or after somebody's had a baby. But this also happens in men. So it's important to understand these key concepts, because a lot of times when people have pelvic floor issues, it isn't just about going to the bathroom, but whenever I see someone who has tight hips all the time, no matter what, they always feel like they need to stretch their hips. This is a pelvic floor issue. They're not able to create pressure within their pelvis or be able to reduce pressure within their pelvis during certain movements. So what they do is they just use these outside muscles to try to create that pressure instead. So, for example, if I've got more of this externally rotated pelvis and I have this descending pelvic floor, I'm not able to internally rotate and produce force, ascend the pelvic floor. So whenever I'm doing something where I really have to put force into the ground, as I said, let's say it's coming up from a squat or coming up from a split squat or stepping upstairs, I'm going to need this shape to happen. And this is going to increase pressure within my pelvis, which is a good thing. I need that because if I can create pressure within my pelvis, it's like an inside out pressure gradient that I want to use to create force. So if I can create the pressure inside, I can then translate that pressure into pushing into the ground. So I need this motion. If I don't have it, that's when you start to see people dumping their pelvis forward, arching their back. They round their shoulders forward. Anything they can do to shift their center of mass towards their toes. The other thing too is people who have a constantly descended pelvic floor. These are the people that look like they've got excessive mobility all the time. They either have excessive mobility and feel stiff all the time because they're trying to create that stiffness outside the pelvis because they can't create it within, or it's the people who are very stiff and feel stiff because all the muscles have just really tightened up to restrict movement because the body is saying to itself, if I move excessively, I'm going to go into a vulnerable position. So if I have a descended pelvic floor, then I'm not able to internally rotate. So hinging is going to be hard. Bending over is going to be hard without using my back. Anything to do with force production. On the flip side, if I've got somebody who is constantly pressurizing or lifting up that pelvic floor and internally rotating, these are going to be the people who are going to have a hard time going down into squats, going down into split squats, anything that requires them to go deeper into hip flexion because they're not able to descend their pelvic floor. These are people who are always trying to put force into the ground. They've got their inside arch of their feet pressed into the ground all the time, so more of these flatter feet. They're constantly creating pressure and tension. So these people are going to be a lot more stiff than the people who have more of this descended pelvic floor. Not the feeling of stiffness, but the actual just limitation in their movement, right? So if we were to think that a descended pelvic floor is more having a harder time holding in going pee, whereas the stiffer pelvic floor is somebody who has a harder time going number two. That's kind of what we're looking at, right? And what we can do is use assessment measurements to use as a proxy to tell us what's happening within the pelvis. And then we can start manipulating exercises in order to create these different shapes. So what we're going to do is we're going to break down 3 different squat variations that are going to manipulate the pelvis position based on what somebody needs. Okay, so for the first variation of the squat, let's take it so that we have the stiffest person. So this is somebody who needs to descend their pelvic floor a little bit. Maybe they have an ascended pelvic floor that's creating a lot of stiffness. And these people have a limited range of motion. So what we're going to do is a heels elevated to a box, low plate or low dumbbell reaching position. So what we're going to do by having the heels elevated, that's going to naturally shift my center of gravity back. That's going to allow the pelvic floor to relax a little bit. So it's descending a little bit more, which is going to give more room in the front of my hips. By having a dumbbell and reaching forward, that's going to further reach and push my center of gravity back. Because as I reach, it's going to bring me more towards my toes. And so if I push myself back towards my heels, it keeps me a bit more vertical, which is then again going to relax my pelvic floor and the muscle around my hip. Then by sitting down onto something that's a bit higher and aiming towards a box where I can unload my pelvis, it's further going to decompress the pelvic floor and descend that pelvic floor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a big breath in as I descend. Breathe out here. Take a big breath in. Breathe out, come up. The reason why I'm breathing in at the bottom as well is it gives me time to decompress the pelvis, because as I said, as I breathe in, that's going to lower that pelvic floor and it's going to descend the diaphragm. So it's going to further open up my hips. Before I move on to the second size, if you want a full 3-phase system that takes exercises like this, improves pelvic floor dynamics, improves range of motion of the hips, shoulder, and the rest of your body while still building strength, and scaling it over multiple phases, then join our rebuild blueprint and click the link below. So for the second exercise, we're going to do a box squat. Now you may be thinking that this is very similar to the first exercise, but it's very different because there was two main differences between this exercise and the previous one. The first difference, I'm not using the wedges anymore to elevate my heels. This is going to put my body a little bit more over top of the middle part of my feet. And the second thing is I'm going a little bit lower my squat. I don't have a pad to minimize how much hip flexion we go into, because what I want to do is aim towards 90 degrees of hip flexion. Because during this box squat, this is going to force the pelvis to internally rotate more, create more pressure in the pelvis, ascend or lift the pelvic floor. So again, this is for somebody who maybe has hypermobility stuff, people who have excessive range of motion, and for people who have more of this descended pelvic floor. It's teaching them how to maintain pressure so they're not just descended all the time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the dumbbell, grab it to a goblet position, have my elbows in front of my body so I can keep my back open. I'm going to have my feet just outside of hip width apart. And now something very different that I'm going to do is I'm going to exhale as I move. So I'm going to take a big breath in, breathe out. I'm not going to sit back. I'm just going to maintain the tension on the front part of my feet. So I'm just on top of the box. Inhale, exhale. And the reason why I'm breathing out as I move is because the breathing out creates more of that ascension. So as I'm moving, I'm not descending my pelvic floor as I go down. I'm maintaining pressure as I go down. When I breathe in, because I'm at 90 degrees of hip flexion, that's going to reinforce that internal rotation of the hip. Because as we talked about in this video, many videos, at 90 degrees of hip flexion, that's where internal rotation of the hip happens. That's where the pelvic floor ascends. So by doing this kind of movement where I'm breathing in at the bottom, breathing out as I move, that is going to reinforce that internal rotation and the ascension of the pelvic floor. The third exercise is going to be a heels elevated front squat position to a press. So more of like this push press. So what this is going to do now, it's going to force me to go into deeper ranges of hip flexion because I don't have a constraint like a box or a bench. But by descending with my heels elevated, I'm able to get deeper ranges, which is going to allow me to descend the pelvic floor. But as I come up, I'm now using momentum and the force by pressing into the ground to push the weights overhead. So this is now integrating both, where I'm reinforcing the descending of the pelvic floor on the way down, but then reinforcing the ascension as I come up by getting deeper into hip flexion, creating more of the descension, and by pushing up and really overloading the extension phase or the lifting phase of the motion, I'm going to create more pressure in the pelvis and more of an ascension. So in this video, we talked about the different pelvic floor mechanics and how we can manipulate exercises in order to facilitate whether we have more of a descended or an ascended pelvic floor. If you want to learn more about this, go check out my Evolve Biomechanics mentorship. We talk about pelvic floor dynamics, compensations associated with it, and much more. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, save, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.